welcome to my August wrap up. I'm sorry this is kind of late. The last couple of weeks have been really weird. I also feel like I make a lot of excuses. I typically film on the weekends and I just like pre-film, edit, and schedule all my uploads. And last weekend, Saturday, I did the errands I had to do and I came home and I crashed. Like, all I wanted to do was sleep. And then Sunday, all I did was sleep all day. And then all last week, I just wanted to sleep. Like, I went to work every day, but like, every time I would blink my eyes, I just wanted to fall asleep. And honestly, I still kind of feel that way. I feel like a little better. It's been crazy. And like this weekend, Saturday, I don't set an alarm on the weekends usually anyways, but I still usually wake up at 7 or 8. I usually try to wake up at 6 for work. And I slept in until noon on Saturday. So, and I haven't slept until noon probably since I've been in this apartment. Maybe since college. Like, I just can't sleep in anymore. So it's very weird. These videos probably wouldn't even be happening if it wasn't for Labor Day, because that's like the only reason I can even do this. And it is Labor Day right now, and it's like 4:30. I read 11 books this month. It was a good month. Like, I feel like that's a smaller amount of books to have read than normal for me. But I went through some kind of weird like reading moods this month, and one weird thing was I only read books I got out of the library or ebooks. Mostly, especially towards the end of the month, I just let myself like go with this. I really wanted to read college new adult books, and I don't know if it was because like people are going back to college and so I'm just like mentally like trying to go there or whatever. But the first two books I read I can show you are Changeless and Blameless by Gail Carriger. So the second and third books in the Parasol Protectorate series. I gave 5 stars to Changeless and 4.5 to Blameless. I thought they were great continuations of the series. I still really like Alexia. I like a lot of the side characters. The only reason Blameless gets 4.5 stars instead of 5 is because it has a like, I don't know if you'd really call it a trope, but like a plot device / conflict issue that I'm not a fan of in romance stories. And it really rubs me the wrong way. Okay, then I read another library book. I read Conspiracy of Blood and Smoke by Anne Blankman. This is the second book in the Prisoner of Night and Fog like duology. It was a newer book, so I had to return it to the library. Like, you can't renew it or anything. And I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I do like the first book a little bit more. I want to do a review, like a non-spoiler review on the series. The first one just had more of an impact on me, although I definitely think that going into the second one I was really scared to read it, because the first one had been so emotional for me, so I kind of went into it like with my guards up, so like I didn't like fully like allow myself to enjoy it. But I thought it was a great series, and I definitely will read more of Anne Blankman's stuff as she writes more. I think she has a book coming out next year that's about like Elizabethan England, so that should be cool. And then I read Stir Me Up by Sabrina Elkins, I think is her name, and this is like, I'd say like upper YA new adult. The main character is in high school, her senior year, but it's definitely more mature and talks more about like life after high school, like what she's going to do with her life, than it talks about high school things. And it does have sexual content, so I would kind of put it in new adult. I was listening to old episodes of the DBSA podcast, and Jane, I think, had mentioned this one, so I picked it up. I gave it 4 stars. I don't remember if I said that. It was good. It's about a girl who her father is a chef, and she wants to be a chef, but her dad doesn't want her to be one. Like, her stepmom's nephew has to come live with them because he was injured in like Iraq or Afghanistan, and then they end up like having a relationship and stuff. And I typically like chef stories, and also I like wounded heroes and people. Like, I like damaged people. I thought it had a really honest look at like what life can be. I liked the romance. I know some people thought it was insta-love. I didn't think it was at all. I don't remember a lot about it, so I can't comment on specific things really, but I did like the characters and I would read it again. And then I read One Good Dragon Deserves Another by Rachel Aaron, which was the second book in the Heartstriker series. It came out this month. I gave it 5 stars, of course. Freaking love this series. This is like an urban fantasy series with dragons. The first one is called Nice Dragons Finish Last, and I just love it. I think it's a great series. It has humor, but it's serious, and the world gets like even bigger in this story, and you start to get into like more characters and like more into their POVs, and I really enjoyed that. Like there's definitely characters I like being in their heads more than the other characters. Like Julius will always, he's the main dragon, he'll always be my homeboy. It was nice to see other people's perspectives on the world, and we got like some answers and more questions, and it ended in a really interesting way where like I'm definitely curious to see what happens in the next story. I'm also hoping that the romance progresses a little bit. It scooched. It scooched a little bit in this one, which was, I mean, it's working, but like part of me is just like, so then I read Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. I don't think anyone knows how to say her name. And I gave this 3 stars. I thought it was kind of blah, and people really like this. Like, I basically picked it up because Riley, Lainey, and Lindsay all love the series, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to read these books. And I had heard of them before, and I just, like, I like the world, basically, but I don't like, what's her name, Mac? Is that her name? I don't like her at all. And I don't really like the guy, Jericho Barons. I kind of think he's just like an ass, and I think she's annoying and childish. But I like the larger world and stuff. You know, it was an okay book. I got it from the library, which I'm really glad. I will read the second one. Eventually I'll get it from the library, and if that one kind of underwhelms me the same way this one did, then I probably won't finish the series. But maybe it'll get better, you know. Then I read First to Burn by, I think her name was Anna Richland, I think. And this one got 4 stars from me, and this was another DBSA read. What made me pick it up is actually a spoiler, but it was discussed, so I won't say what it is. I actually don't think it's a spoiler. Like, it is, but I don't think it like ruins the book or anything. But I still won't say what it is. But this is kind of a weird story. It's like, the hero is an immortal Viking, and he is like special ops for like the US military, and the heroine is also in the military, and she's a doctor. And they end up meeting, and she starts to realize that something's off about them. And then there's kind of like a mystery thing going on too. And like a lot of those things are not, like, I don't typically read romantic suspense or like war. Like, I read coming home from war stories, but not typically like in theater war. But because of the thing I heard, I was really drawn to this story. I did enjoy it. I thought it was very well written. There was a little bit of repetition I didn't like. There was also certain times when I thought certain plot or character points should have been explored more, and they weren't. They were just like glossed over, and it was weird because other times the author did explore things more deeply, so it wasn't like she was doing that constantly. Overall, I liked the characters, and I'm not like immediately, I know there's other books in the series like about other Vikings. I would pick them up, but I'm not immediately like, oh my gosh, I have to get my hands on it, if that makes sense. And then basically came the craziness that was throwing myself into the new adult college craziness. So I read The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. I know this is going to surprise you, but again, another book I read because of the DBSA podcast. This one was actually, Jane had read like a specific scene, like a little bit of a scene on the podcast, and I was like, I need to read that book. And I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I didn't give it 5. I feel like this book deserves a reread, and it may end up going up to a 5-star read, but I really, really liked it. It's a hockey new adult college romance. I liked that it covered a huge chunk of time. Like, it's not just like a few weeks or anything. and I love both of the characters, Logan and Grace. I love them so much, especially Logan. He's just so funny, and they have great chemistry like immediately, and I love their story. I think these are great new adult. They're definitely funny. This one especially isn't very dramatic at all. Like, there is stuff going on, obviously there's conflict and everything because it's a book, but it's not really angsty. It's very fun. I love, this is the second book in her off-campus series, and they basically follow this group of guys who are hockey players, and I really like the group of guys, like their dynamic and their relationships with each other. I think she does a really good job with that as well. So when I finished that, I went back and read The Deal, which is the first book in the series, and I know a lot of people like this one more than The Mistake, and I gave this one 4 stars too, but I like the second one a little bit more. This one has a little bit more angst. This one does have a character who suffers from rape earlier in the story. That's not a spoiler. And it is a part of the story, but not necessarily in that, like, the heroine, who's the rape survivor, like, struggles to trust men or anything, but in that it affected her family in a larger way, which was interesting. And I did like both of the main characters in this one, and it was kind of interesting because I saw them as a couple in The Mistake, so now going back and reading their story was interesting. I really suggest these books. I really like Elle Kennedy. I think she is, like, she writes very well and has engaging characters. And if you like Serena Bowen, I think you would like Elle Kennedy, and vice versa. Which brings me to the next book I read, Him by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen, which is a male-male new adult hockey romance, although I don't know if they pitch it as new adult. I would say it's new adult, almost contemporary romance, because the majority of the story takes place after college, and it's very hard for me sometimes to, like, decide when that genre break happens. This one I gave 4 stars. I did really like it, but I thought it was the weakest thing I've read by both authors. It took me a while to get into it. Like, I kept putting it down. Also, while I liked both of the characters, and I liked them as friends, it took me a huge chunk of the book to even care about them as a potential couple. Like, their friendship ends like 4 years prior to the start of the story, and then they are trying to, like, reconnect that, and then it becomes like a romantic relationship. I wanted their friendship to be fixed, but I wasn't, like, super, like, into them as a couple. Like, I don't know. Eventually I was on board, but it took me a while to get there. But I thought it was a good male-male romance, and it's definitely more lighthearted and fun than, like, The Understatement of the Year by Serena Bowen. And then I read The Shameless Hour by Serena Bowen, and this is the most recent book in the Ivy Year series, and this one follows Bella, who you meet in the previous books. And I gave this 5 stars, and I wrote a review about this. When I was reading this book, I had updated on Goodreads at one point that this book was going to get 5 stars from me because of one specific thing, and I stand by that. It's not my favorite book in the series, but Serena Bowen kind of, like, lays it all on the line in this book, and I think outright addresses slut shaming. I've talked about that a lot and how I find it happens a lot in new adult books, and I don't mean that, like, characters slut shame. Like, yes, that too, but that, like, authors will, like, a lot of times I think unconsciously slut shame doesn't make excuses for that kind of behavior, and I am just very grateful for that. Aside from that, I really liked Bella. I liked her in The Understatement of the Year, but I really fell in love with her in this book, and Rafe was a great hero. He's truly, like, the good guy hero, and he's not annoying at all. Like, he's so nice but not, like, obnoxious about it, and their romance was very cute. And considering that Bella is a very, like, sexually aggressive person, I feel like you would think this book would be more, like, steamy. Like, there's definitely a lot of, like, chemistry and stuff, but I view their chemistry as more of a slow burn than, like I said in my review, like, that more than, like, a hot flash bang that sometimes you get in new adult, even some Serena Bowen books. Like, you can tell these characters are, like, connected and are attracted to one another, but like, I don't know, it's kind of different. Like, not that that big passionate thing can't last, but it's kind of like they're the couple that you look at them and you're like, they're still gonna be like into each other forever, because it's not just, I don't know, it makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense in the way so yeah, those are the books I read in August. I have no idea what's gonna happen in September reading wise, but we'll see how it goes. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.